The airport terminal blurred around Kang Min-ho as his world shattered in a single heartbeat. There she stood, Isabella, the woman who'd vanished 3 years ago with his unborn child, now flanked by 3 identical toddlers with his sharp jawline and her warm brown eyes. His fiancée's perfectly manicured hand tightened on his arm, but he couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stare at the impossible truth walking toward him through the crowd. The children laughed, their voices cutting through him like glass, and something he'd buried deep, something dangerous and desperate, roared back to life. Welcome to K-Fairy Tales Stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. Min-ho stood frozen as Isabella approached, her steps slowing when recognition flickered across her face. She looked different, stronger somehow, her curves more pronounced, her dark skin glowing with health despite the exhaustion shadowing her eyes. The children clung to her dress, tiny hands gripping fabric as they peered up at him with unsettling familiarity. His fiancée Yuna stiffened beside him. Her voice came out sharp and territorial. "Min-ho, who is that woman?" He couldn't answer. His throat had closed completely. Isabella's gaze moved from his face to Yuna's diamond ring catching the fluorescent light, then back to him. Something flickered in her expression. Pain, maybe anger, before she turned abruptly, ushering the children away. "Wait," the word tore from him before he could stop it. Isabella didn't wait. She disappeared into the crowd, 3 small heads bobbing beside her like pieces of his heart walking away. Yuna's nails dug into his arm. "Min-ho, what's going on? Do you know her?" He pulled free, his entire body trembling with the need to chase after Isabella, to demand answers, to understand how his world had just imploded in the middle of Incheon Airport. But Yuna was watching him with growing suspicion, and somewhere in the distant corners of his mind, he remembered he was supposed to be getting married in 2 weeks. The next day, Min-ho sat in his office overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, but he saw nothing. His fingers drummed against mahogany as Ji-woo, his second-in-command, spread surveillance photos across the desk. "Found her," Ji-woo said quietly. "Isabella Kingsley. She's been living in Busan under her maiden name, works as a translator. 3 children, all boys, born 3 years ago this month." Min-ho's hand stilled. 3 years ago, exactly 9 months after she'd disappeared without explanation, blocking his number and vanishing like smoke. He'd torn Seoul apart looking for her, had used every resource his family's organization commanded, but she'd simply ceased to exist. "Names?" His voice came out hoarse. "She calls them Kai, Leo, and Ethan. Western names, nothing Korean. As if she'd wanted to erase every trace of him from their lives. Rage and longing warred in his chest, a toxic combination that made his hands shake. "Address?" Ji-woo hesitated. "Boss, you're getting married. Yuna's family has already merged half their operations with ours. If you..." "Address." That evening, Min-ho stood outside a modest apartment building in a quiet Busan neighborhood, watching lights glow in a 3rd-floor window. Through the glass he could see Isabella moving around, her silhouette soft and domestic as she prepared dinner. The children darted in and out of view, their laughter drifting down to the street. He'd built an empire on ruthlessness, had ordered men killed for lesser betrayals than keeping his children from him. But standing there in the growing darkness, watching the family he didn't know he had, Min-ho felt something crack inside his chest. His phone buzzed. Yuna's name flashed across the screen, but he silenced it without looking. The next morning, Isabella found him waiting outside her building. She froze mid-step, keys dangling from her fingers, eyes widening with something between fear and fury. "How did you find me? Did you really think you could hide from me forever?" His voice came out harder than he'd intended, anger bleeding through despite his best efforts. "Those are my sons." She flinched but didn't back down. "They're my sons. You have no right." "No right?" The words exploded from him. "I had no right to know I was a father. You had no right to make that decision alone." People were starting to stare. Isabella's jaw tightened, and she moved past him toward the entrance. "This isn't the place." "Then where? When?" He caught her arm, gentle despite the fury coursing through him. "You owe me answers, Isabella." She yanked free, but something flickered in her expression, old pain resurfacing. I owe you nothing. You made your choice 3 years ago. What choice? You disappeared. You wouldn't return my calls, wouldn't— I saw you, she whispered, and her voice cracked. I came to tell you I was pregnant and I saw you with her. Your family's arranged match. Your perfect Korean bride. I heard your father telling you to forget the foreign distraction and focus on the merger. Minho's world tilted. You were there? When? It doesn't matter now. She straightened, rebuilding walls he could see rising between them. You're engaged? Again. I saw the ring at the airport. So whatever you think you want, whatever you think this is, it's too late. She disappeared inside before he could respond, leaving him standing in the morning sun with the wreckage of 3 years of misunderstanding scattered at his feet. Later that week, Minho did what he'd never done in his life. He defied his father. The engagement announcement to Yuna was quietly postponed, then canceled altogether. The merger collapsed. His father's rage shook their compound, but Minho barely heard it. All he could think about were 3 boys who looked like him, growing up without knowing their father existed. He hired the best lawyers, prepared custody documents, planned his approach with the same strategic precision he used for business negotiations. But every time he tried to contact Isabella, she shut him down. Every message went unanswered, every call ignored, so he changed tactics. The following morning, Isabella emerged from her apartment to find a black car idling at the curb. Minho leaned against it, dressed casually in dark jeans and a sweater that made him look less like a mafia boss, and more like the man she'd fallen for years ago. The boys like the aquarium? He asked without preamble. She stopped. How did you— Kai won't stop talking about sharks. Leo loves penguins. Ethan collects facts about jellyfish. Minho's expression softened. I asked around. Your neighbors are very chatty. That's creepy. That's determination. He straightened. I bought out the aquarium for the day. Just us and the boys. No crowds, no pressure. Let me meet my sons properly, Isabella. Please. She should have said no. Should have protected her children from the dangerous world Minho inhabited. But something in his expression, raw vulnerability she'd never seen before, made her hesitate. One visit, she heard herself say. That's all. His smile could have lit the entire city. The aquarium was magic. Minho watched his sons race from tank to tank, their excitement infectious, as they pressed small hands against glass and shrieked with delight at every creature. Isabella stayed close, protective and wary, but even she couldn't maintain her walls completely. Daddy, look! Kai grabbed Minho's hand without thinking, dragging him toward the shark tunnel. The words stopped Minho's heart. He looked at Isabella, saw her face pale, but she didn't correct the child. He doesn't understand, she said quietly. They think every man is daddy. They've never— Her voice caught. They don't have one. Minho knelt down, bringing himself to Kai's level. Hey buddy, what kind of shark is that? Great white, Kai announced proudly. They're the biggest and scariest. Just like me, Minho murmured, but his hands were gentle as he lifted the boy to see better. By the end of the day, all 3 children were attached to him, Leo demanding piggyback rides while Ethan recited jellyfish facts, and Kai insisted on holding Minho's hand. Isabella watched with something like pain in her eyes. That evening, after the boys were asleep, she finally spoke. You can't do this. Do what? Make them love you and then disappear when the novelty wears off. Her voice shook. They're babies. They won't understand why you stopped coming. Minho moved closer, crowding her space in the small apartment. I'm not going anywhere ever. Those are my sons, Isabella. I'm their father. You're a mafia boss engaged to another woman. I broke the engagement. The merger's dead. My father isn't speaking to me. He caught her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. I burned it all down for the chance to be their father. For the chance to be with you again. She pulled back, wrapping arms around herself. You don't know what you're saying. Your family, your organization, can go to hell if they try to keep me from my children. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Minho appeared every evening, bearing gifts the boys loved. Books, toys, art supplies. But staying for hours, helping with dinner, reading stories, soaking up every moment with the children he'd missed 3 years of knowing. Isabella tried to maintain distance, but it was impossible. Watching Minho with their sons cracked something open inside her chest, all the longing she'd buried, all the love she'd tried to kill, flooding back with devastating force. One night after the boys were asleep, She found him in the kitchen washing dishes. Domesticity looked wrong on him, but he moved with quiet confidence through her space. "You don't have to do that," she said softly. "I know." He didn't look up. "But I want to. I want to be part of this, Isabella, all of it. The boring parts, the hard parts, the parts that aren't Instagram perfect." She leaned against the counter, studying him. "Why now? Why didn't you fight for me 3 years ago?" Minho's hand stilled in the soapy water. "I didn't know you'd heard my father. Didn't know you thought I'd chosen the arrangement over you." He turned to face her, and his eyes held 3 years of regret. "I spent months looking for you, tore the city apart. But you were gone, and I thought you'd decided I wasn't worth the complications. I was pregnant and alone and terrified," Isabella whispered. "And I loved you so much it was destroying me." The confession hung between them, heavy and dangerous. Minho moved closer, slowly, like approaching something wild. Loved past tense? She couldn't breathe with him this close, couldn't think past the way her body remembered his, the way her heart still jumped when he smiled at their sons. "Minho, I never stopped," he said quietly. 3 years, dozens of dates my family arranged. One engagement I agreed to because I thought you were never coming back. And I never stopped loving you. Never stopped looking for you in crowds, never stopped hoping." His hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb brushing across her lips with devastating gentleness. "We have children now," Isabella breathed. "Everything is different. Everything is the same." His forehead touched hers. "You, me, this thing between us that won't die no matter how hard we try to kill it." She should have pulled away. Should have remembered all the reasons this was impossible. But when his lips found hers, soft and searching and heartbreakingly tender, Isabella melted into him like coming home. The kiss deepened, 3 years of longing pouring between them. Minho's hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer, and she gasped against his mouth as desire flooded through her. "The boys," she managed, "are asleep." His lips moved to her neck, finding the spot that had always made her weak. "Tell me to stop and I will. Tell me you don't feel this and I'll walk away." But she couldn't. God help her, she couldn't. Later, tangled in her sheets with moonlight painting patterns across his skin, Isabella traced the new scars marking Minho's ribs. "What happened?" "Territorial dispute. Rival organization thought I was distracted by the cancelled merger." His hand found hers, lacing their fingers together. "They were right. I was distracted. All I could think about was you and the boys." Fear clutched her heart. "Minho, if people know about us, about them, no one will touch you." His voice turned deadly. "I've already made it very clear what happens to anyone who even looks at my family wrong." "Your family?" He rolled to face her, expression serious. "You and the boys, that's my family now. That's what I choose." Isabella wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this could somehow work. But morning came with harsh reality crashing back. She woke to find the bed empty, Minho's clothes gone. Panic seized her until she heard voices from the kitchen, Minho making breakfast while the boys chattered excitedly around him. "Mama!" Kai spotted her first. "Minho made pancakes." She froze in the doorway, watching her sons beam up at the man who'd appeared in their lives like a storm. They'd already accepted him, already loved him. If this fell apart, if he disappeared again, it would break their hearts. It would break hers too. Minho looked up, and something in her expression made him still. He said something quiet to the boys, then crossed to where she stood trembling. "What's wrong? This is too fast." The words tumbled out. "You just appeared, and now you're here every day, and the boys are getting attached, and what happens when your family demands you come back? When they give you an ultimatum between us and everything you've built?" His jaw tightened. "That won't happen. You don't know that. Isabella, I need you to leave." She wrapped arms around herself. "Just for today, I need to think." Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. Possession, refusal, the urge to argue. But he nodded slowly, pressing a kiss to her forehead that felt like a brand. "I'll give you today," he said quietly. "But I'm not giving up. Not on you, not on them, not on us." The day passed in agonizing slowness. The boys asked for Minho repeatedly, confused by his absence. Isabella tried to explain without knowing what to say, tried to protect them without knowing from what. That evening, Ji-woo appeared at her door looking grim. "Minho sent me," he said without preamble. "There's been a development." Isabella's blood ran cold. "What kind of development?" Yuna's family isn't happy about the broken engagement. They're threatening retaliation, and they've discovered you and the boys exist. The world tilted. What does that mean? Jiwoo's expression turned apologetic. It means you're not safe here anymore. Minho wants you and the children moved to a secure location until this is resolved. No, Isabella stepped back. We're not going into hiding because of his choices. With respect, ma'am, this isn't a request. Jiwoo's phone buzzed and he glanced down, frowning. I need to take this. Don't leave the apartment. He stepped into the hallway, voice dropping to urgent tones Isabella couldn't make out. She stood frozen, mind racing through impossible options. The next morning, everything shattered. Isabella woke to pounding on her door, police demanding entry with a warrant for child endangerment. Neighbors gathered in hallways as officers searched her apartment, questioned her parenting, examined her children with suspicious eyes. Someone had called in an anonymous tip about her fitness as a mother. By the time Minho arrived, she was sitting at the police station with the boys clinging to her, tears streaming down her face as social workers discussed temporary custody arrangements. His entrance was explosive. Doors slammed open, officers scrambled back, and Minho's presence filled the room like violence barely contained. Get away from them. His voice could have cut glass. The social worker started to protest, but one look at Minho's face stopped her cold. He crossed to Isabella, gathering her and the boys into his arms with desperate gentleness. I'm sorry, he whispered against her hair. I'm so sorry, this is my fault. Sir, you can't. I'm their father. Minho turned, and even Isabella shivered at the lethal promise in his expression. These are my sons. This is the mother of my children. And whoever filed that false report is going to wish they'd never been born. It took hours, lawyers, DNA tests, and several phone calls from people whose names made police captains pale, but eventually Isabella and the boys were released. Minho drove them not back to her apartment, but to a sprawling compound outside the city, surrounded by guards and security measures that made her feel both protected and trapped. The boys fell asleep quickly, exhausted by the day's trauma. Isabella stood in the massive bedroom Minho had given them, staring at luxury that felt like a cage. He found her there, standing by the window overlooking manicured gardens. It was Yuna's family, he said quietly. They thought they could force me back by proving you were unfit, by threatening to take the boys away. Isabella's hands clenched into fists. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Your world, your enemies, our world now. He moved closer. Isabella, I know this is terrifying. I know it's not what you wanted, but I will burn Seoul to the ground before I let anyone hurt you or our children. That's not comfort, she spun to face him. That's more violence, more danger, more reasons why this can't work. Then what do you want me to do? Frustration bled through his careful control. Walk away? Pretend I don't have sons? Pretend I don't love you? The confession hung between them, raw and devastating. Isabella's breath caught. You can't love me. We barely know each other anymore. I know you bite your lip when you're anxious. I know you sing to the boys when you think no one's listening. I know you still take your coffee the same way, still read before bed, still touch your collarbone when you're nervous. He caught her hand, pressing it over his racing heart. I know that 3 years without you nearly killed me, and now that I've found you again, I'd rather die than lose you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Minho, I love you. His hands framed her face with devastating gentleness. I love our sons. I love the family we could be, if you'd just trust me enough to let me protect you. I'm so scared, she whispered. I know. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her trembling lips. But I'm scared too, scared you'll run again, scared I'll fail you, scared I'll wake up, and this will all be a dream. She kissed him then, desperate and fierce, pouring 3 years of longing and fear and love into the press of her lips against his. Minho responded with matching intensity, backing her toward the bed with careful urgency. Tell me you love me, he breathed against her mouth. Tell me I'm not alone in this. I never stopped loving you. The words broke free like a confession. Even when I hated you. Even when I was terrified. Even when I tried so hard to forget. I never stopped. What happened next was inevitable, beautiful, and achingly tender. Minho loved her like worship, like apology, like promise. And when they finally collapsed together in tangled sheets and racing hearts, Isabella felt something settle in her chest. This was home. Dangerous, complicated, impossible home. But morning brought fresh terror. Isabella woke to find Minho gone, the bed cold beside her. She dressed quickly, checking on the boys, still sleeping peacefully, before venturing out to find him. The compound was silent, guards posted at intervals but offering no information. She finally found Jiwoo in what looked like a security office, his expression grave. "Where's Minho?" Jiwoo hesitated. "There was an incident at one of our warehouses. An attack. He went to handle it personally." Ice flooded Isabella's veins. "How dangerous? I'm sure he's fine. He always—" The explosion came from somewhere across the compound, close enough to rattle windows and send guards racing toward the source. Jiwoo swore, already moving, and Isabella ran after him despite his protests. The garage was engulfed in flames, black smoke billowing into the morning sky. Men shouted, organized chaos as they tried to control the blaze, and Isabella's heart stopped when she saw Minho's car, or what was left of it, consumed by fire. "No," the word tore from her throat. "No, no, no!" Jiwoo caught her before she could run toward the flames. "He wasn't in it. Miss Kingsley, he wasn't in the car." "Then where is he?" As if summoned by her panic, Minho appeared from the smoke, covered in soot and blood but alive, so blessedly alive. His eyes found hers across the chaos, and relief crashed through her so powerfully she nearly collapsed. He was at her side in seconds, hands running over her frantically. "Are you hurt, the boys?" "We're fine." "You're the one who's—" She touched blood on his temple. "Minho, what happened?" "Car bomb." Remote detonation, his jaw clenched. "They're escalating." Fear turned her blood to ice. The boys, if they'd been in the car, they weren't. They won't be. He pulled her close, despite Jiwoo's urgent report continuing in the background. "I'm ending this today. No more threats, no more danger. I'm ending it." Isabella pulled back enough to see his face, to read the deadly promise there. "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done weeks ago." He kissed her hard and fast. "Stay with the boys. Don't leave the compound. I'll be back before dark." "Minho!" But he was already gone, Jiwoo and a team of armed men following in his wake. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Isabella kept the boys entertained, played games, read stories, tried desperately not to think about Minho walking into danger because of her, because of their sons. Guards remained posted, professional and silent, offering no information. By evening, she was pacing the bedroom like a caged animal. Finally, as the sun set, Jiwoo appeared in the doorway. His expression was carefully neutral, but relief flickered at the edges. "It's done," he said simply. "Minho's on his way back." "What's done?" "What happened?" "The threat has been neutralized. Yuna's family has agreed to back down. There will be no more incidents." Isabella wanted to ask what that meant, what neutralized entailed, what Minho had done to ensure their safety. But part of her knew she didn't want those answers. Didn't want to know exactly what the man she loved was capable of when his family was threatened. Minho returned an hour later, looking exhausted but unharmed. The boys were already asleep, giving Isabella and him a moment of privacy as she examined him for injuries. "I'm fine," he murmured, catching her worried hands. "It's over." "What did you do?" "Reminded certain people that I'm not someone to be trifled with. Made it very clear what happens to anyone who threatens my family." His expression darkened. "They won't bother us again." Isabella searched his face. "Should I be afraid of you?" The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Minho's hands tightened on hers. "You should be terrified. I'm a monster, Isabella. I've done things that would make you run screaming, but I would never ever hurt you or our children. You're the only soft thing left in my life, the only good thing." She kissed him then, pouring acceptance and trust and love into the gesture. "I'm not running, not anymore." Relief broke across his face like sunrise. "Then marry me." Isabella pulled back, stunned. "What?" "Marry me." He dropped to his knees, still holding her hands. "Not because of the boys, not because it's practical or safe. Marry me because I love you. Because 3 years without you nearly destroyed me. Because I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. Because you're mine and I'm yours and I'm done pretending otherwise." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You're insane. Probably." He smiled, that rare, devastating smile that made her heart stutter. "But I'm yours. Say yes, Isabella. Please." She thought about everything that had happened. All the danger and fear and impossible complications. Thought about the boys sleeping peacefully down the hall, already bonded to their father. Thought about her own heart. how it had never stopped belonging to this dangerous, devoted man. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." Minho surged to his feet, kissing her with desperate relief and joy. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making you happy. I swear it." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Minho insisted on a quick, private ceremony, partly for security, partly because he couldn't wait another day to make her his wife legally. Isabella found herself swept up in preparations, the boys excited about being ring-bearers, Minho's rare smiles becoming more frequent as the date approached. His father attended, stiff and disapproving but present. Other family members came, wary but respectful of Minho's happiness. And when Isabella walked toward him in a simple white dress, holding their son's hands as they scattered petals, Minho's expression was worth every moment of fear and doubt that had brought them here. "I love you," he said when she reached him, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I love you and our sons, and I will protect you with everything I am until my last breath." Isabella's vows were simpler but no less powerful. "I choose you every day, every moment. I choose us." The kiss that sealed their marriage was tender and fierce, full of promise and passion and the certainty that they'd fought too hard for this to ever let it go. That night, with the boys sleeping peacefully in their new home and Isabella wrapped in his arms, Minho finally let himself believe it was real. She was his wife, the boys were his sons, and nothing would ever threaten this family again. "What are you thinking?" Isabella murmured against his chest. "That I'm the luckiest man alive." He kissed her hair. "And that I can't wait to give the boys a little sister." She laughed, the sound light and happy in the darkness. "One step at a time. I have time." His hand splayed across her stomach possessively. All the time in the world. 6 months later, Isabella stood in the bathroom staring at a positive pregnancy test with shaking hands. Minho found her there, took one look at her face in the test, and sank to his knees with something like reverence. "Really?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "We're having another baby." His joy was incandescent, dangerous and beautiful. He kissed her stomach, whispered promises to the tiny life growing there, held Isabella like she was made of spun glass. The boys were ecstatic when they told them, already planning how to teach their new sibling everything they knew. Minho became even more protective, if that was possible, hovering and worrying and driving Isabella crazy with his constant concern. But she loved him for it. Loved the man who'd been ruthless enough to tear down threats to their family, gentle enough to read bedtime stories. Their daughter was born on a spring morning, tiny and perfect with Isabella's warm brown skin and Minho's sharp features. The boys crowded around, fascinated by their baby sister, while Minho held his daughter with trembling hands and absolute wonder. "Thank you," he whispered to Isabella, voice breaking. "Thank you for this, for them, for everything." She smiled, exhausted and happy and home. "We're a family." "Forever," he agreed, kissing her softly. "My beautiful family. Forever." And standing there in that hospital room with their children surrounding them, with years of danger and doubt behind them and infinite possibility ahead, Isabella finally believed it. This impossible, complicated, perfect love was theirs to keep. Minho had chosen them, built a life around them, made them his priority, and she had chosen him right back. Their love story had overcome obstacles and doubt, ending with joy, with marriage and children, and the unbreakable bond between two souls who'd found each other against all odds. The months that followed settled into a new rhythm. Minho focused more on family, delegating business responsibilities to Jiwoo and other trusted colleagues, while he spent time with his children. The boys thrived, growing bold and confident under their father's watchful eye, while baby Mina became the darling of the entire household. Isabella found her own place in Minho's world, translating for his international business ventures, offering perspective that brought fresh insight. She balanced his intensity with compassion, proved that strength could exist alongside gentleness. But old concerns never fully disappeared. One evening, as Isabella nursed Mina while the boys played nearby, Minho's father appeared at their door. His expression was serious, shoulders tight with concern. "We need to talk," the elder Kang said quietly. "Alone." Minho's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "My study." Isabella watched them go with growing unease. Whatever had brought Minho's father here uninvited couldn't be good news. She settled the baby, called one of the household staff to watch the children, and positioned herself near the study door. Their voices carried through the heavy wood. "The family elders want assurances," Minho's father was saying. "Your marriage to the foreign woman, your half-Korean children. It's created questions about the future. My children are my heirs, all of them. That's not changing. The traditionalists disagree. They're suggesting you consider a second wife. Someone Korean, someone who can provide..." The sound of something hitting the floor made Isabella jump. "This conversation is over." Minho's voice came out firm and final. "I need you to leave now." The door opened moments later, the elder Kang walking past Isabella without acknowledging her presence. Minho stood by the window, hands gripping the frame. A vase lay broken on the floor. "How much did you hear?" His voice was controlled, but tension ran through him. "Enough." Isabella moved closer carefully. "Are they really suggesting you take another wife?" "They can suggest whatever they want. It won't happen." He turned to face her, expression determined. "You're my wife, the only wife I'll ever have." She believed him. But she also knew the position this put him in, caught between the world he'd been born into and the family he'd chosen. The meeting with the family elders came 2 weeks later. Minho called everyone together, gathering every influential member into one room. Isabella insisted on being there despite his concerns. "They need to see us united," she said firmly. "They need to see I'm not going anywhere." She stood beside him in traditional Korean dress, their children home with trusted caregivers. The message was clear. She respected his culture even as she brought change with her presence. Minho's opening statement was direct and clear. "My wife and children are not up for discussion. They are family. That's final." The room filled with debate, traditionalists wanting adherence to old ways while younger members pushed for evolution. Through it all, Isabella stood silent and strong. Finally, one of the eldest members stood. "You ask us to accept half-Korean heirs, children who carry foreign heritage. This has never been done. Then we'll be the first." Minho's voice cut through the noise. "Times change. We change with them, or we get left behind. Choose." The vote was close, but Minho's supporters won. His children were recognized as legitimate heirs. His marriage was accepted. But the decision came with consequences. Several old families withdrew their support, changing alliances Minho had relied on for years. Security concerns increased. The boys' kindergarten was changed to private tutors. Even deliveries required additional screening. Minho grew tense, sleeping less, smiling rarely, carrying the weight visibly. 3 months later, everything shifted again. Isabella was in the garden with Mina when Jiwoo appeared, his face ashen. "Mrs. Kang, we need to get you inside now." The urgency in his voice made her blood run cold. "What happened?" "There's been an incident." Minho's convoy was ambushed on the way back from the city. The world tilted as he... "We don't know. Communications went dark 15 minutes ago. The security team isn't responding." Isabella's legs nearly gave out. Jiwoo caught her elbow, already guiding her toward the house as guards materialized from every direction. The boys were brought inside, confused and frightened by the sudden lockdown. Hours crawled by with no word. Isabella paced the living room, Mina crying in her arms, the boys clinging to her legs. Every phone call made her heart stop. Every footstep in the hallway sent hope and terror surging through her chest. Finally, as night fell, Jiwoo's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression went carefully blank. "What?" Isabella demanded. "What is it?" They found the convoy. 3 security guards dead, the driver critically injured. He paused, and something in his eyes made Isabella's stomach drop. "Minho's gone, they took him." The room spun. Who took him?" "We're not sure yet. But they left a message." Jiwoo pulled out his phone, showing her a photo that made bile rise in her throat. Minho, unconscious and bleeding, surrounded by armed men, and written across the image in red, "The foreigner and her bastards for his life. You have 48 hours. Isabella's knees buckled. This couldn't be happening, not when they'd finally built something beautiful. Not when their children needed their father. Not when she'd just found him again. "No," she whispered. "No, we'll pay ransom. We'll negotiate. They don't want money." Jiwoo's voice was gentle but firm. "They want you gone. They want the children declared illegitimate. They want Minho to remarry properly and produce Korean heirs. Then I'll go." The words came out before she could think. "I'll take the children and disappear. Just get him back safe. Mrs. Kang, do it!" She was shaking now, Mina wailing in her arms, the boys crying in confusion. Whatever they want, give it to them. Just bring him home. Jiwoo's phone buzzed with an incoming message. He glanced down and his face went pale. What now? Isabella's voice cracked. He turned the phone toward her. Another photo, Minho, awake this time, blood streaming from a fresh cut across his cheek. And a new message, TikTok Mrs. Kang. Choose fast, or we choose for you. Isabella stared at the image of her husband, battered and bleeding, held hostage because he dared to love her. Because he'd chosen their family over tradition. Because she'd been selfish enough to believe they could have this life. The boys pressed against her legs, sensing her terror. Mina screamed. And somewhere out there in the darkness, Minho was suffering because of her. She looked at Jiwoo, decision crystallizing with brutal clarity. Get everyone together. All of Minho's loyal people. Everyone who supports our family. What are you planning? Isabella's expression hardened, something fierce and dangerous rising in her chest. The same ruthless devotion Minho had shown when protecting them, now turned toward saving him. They want to take my husband? Her voice came out cold and deadly. Then they're about to learn exactly why he fell in love with me in the first place. She handed Mina to a staff member, kissed each of her sons, and straightened her spine. They think I'm a weakness, she said quietly. They think I'm soft. Let's show them what happens when you threaten a mother's family. My Jiwoo's eyes widened with understanding and something like respect. Mrs. Kang, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking... Make the calls, Isabella interrupted. We're getting my husband back, and then we're ending this tonight. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. Storm clouds gathered over Seoul, and in a compound on the edge of the city, Isabella Kang prepared to show the Korean underworld exactly what she was capable of when the man she loved was in danger. The foreigner they'd dismissed as Minho's weakness was about to become their worst nightmare, and God help anyone who stood in her way.